All right, Saagar, what are you looking at?
Well, as you can all probably tell at this point in the show, I'm really mad at the situation that we have in the country right now. We've been in this for 2 years. I have friends waiting in line for 2 hours to get test results promised in the next several days. People are sick, and their government has basically abandoned them. And for the people I feel for the most, though, it's children. They've lost years of their lives to COVID, the paranoia of our public health bureaucracy, and they are now learning with absolute certainty we have been hoodwinked for months. Masks in schools have always been a contentious subject. The United States is one of the only developed countries in the world that is pushing it as official policy. It is not like our results have been all that much better than the rest of the world. Parents have been whispering and rising up against us in some districts, but in many places it's not up to them. It's up to the state, who have looked to the Center for Disease Control for guidance. But of course, we always have to ask the question now. What if the CDC, the organization we rely most on in this situation, is completely wrong? And well, that's pretty much exactly the case when it comes to masks in school. Right now, the CDC recommends all children ages 2 and up wear a mask in school based specifically upon a study published in September that looked at 1,000 schools in Arizona, where they said schools that didn't have a mask mandate were 3.5 times more likely to experience COVID outbreaks than ones that did. That's stunning, right? Well, as David Zweig points out at The Atlantic, this study, which the CDC director and public health people have been pushing relentlessly to justify the mask recommendation, it's a completely bunk study. First, Zweig points out that the study claimed to have looked at school-associated COVID outbreaks from July 15 to August 31, 2021. The problem is that, quote, only a small proportion of schools in the study were open at any point in July. Some did not even begin class until August 10th, meaning that students in the latter group who didn't have mask mandates had twice as much more time to develop a COVID outbreak. Might influence the numbers. Furthermore, in terms of definitions that they used for school-related outbreaks, they defined it as, quote, 2 or more COVID cases among students or staff members at a school within a 14-day period that could be linked. As anyone with a brain can tell you, 2 cases in a school doesn't tell you a damn thing about whether transmission actually happened within that school. Worse, guess what else the study didn't control for? Vaccination status amongst the staff or students. David dug even deeper. He found that the study included virtual learning academies within it. Some were preschools. Some were programs otherwise listed as schools. Did the study control for that? When David asked, they refused to answer the question, especially on whether they had mistakenly included virtual school in their tally. And to this day, they say that their methodology was, quote, entirely appropriate for what they were looking at. Perhaps I'm boring you, and but I want you to remember this. This study is the single most cited one by the director of the CDC for a policy which is affecting tens of millions of children here in the United States. It's a policy which has been shown clearly to have negative effects, reducing socialization in young children, increasing asthma attacks when it's worn during sporting events, and it is despised universally nearly by all children forced to wear them and the parents who have to watch them suffer. It is clear as day the CDC relied on this study and elevated it because of their commitment to pandemic theater and not to actual science. And it, of course, raises the ultimate question. What else are these people lying about? If we cannot rely on the CDC to accurately assess risks to kids in schools and whether they should wear masks, then what can we trust them for anything? This is why my deepest sympathies have and probably always will lie with the people who have total distrust in the system. Masks in schools are only the most glaring example of an anti-science COVID restriction regime that is destroying the lives of young people across this country. Prince George's County, right here in the DMV, is closing and going online school in January in response to the Omicron wave, despite glaring evidence that online school doesn't work, that kids are at risk from not at risk whatsoever from COVID, and that even when they're in schools, they don't need to wear masks. Doesn't matter. Tens of thousands of kids' lives ruined. At the higher education level, same situation is clear. Stanford University going online school in January for the same reason, despite a literal vaccination requirement on campus. Universities like Dartmouth, where even a freaking booster is required, are forbidding all indoor social events and are stopping people from eating at their indoor dining hall. These policies are sweeping this nation, and people are realizing how much their prevention strategy over the last 2 years has not worked. The impulse for more crackdowns will continue. Those of us who are adults, we can manage somewhat. We're miserable, but we can survive. What else, though, is the point of a civilization than to protect its young and ensure that they have a better life? On that, we are failing dramatically. We are making public policy not to protect them from harms, and worse, we are actively harming them. We have robbed students across the country of some of the best and most important years of their entire lives, and we've done it all by ignoring science. I don't know what the way out from here is. I know that it starts with us. We have to educate ourselves. We have to do our own research, because the people who were charged with looking out for us betrayed the public trust, and they have put their ideology over everything else. We got to take power back into our own hands, and you got to fight back. It's for the good of kids who are coming up behind us, because we really do owe it to them. That's the thing, Crystal. I mean, look, I don't even have kids. You do. But like, I read this and you tell me about your kids' experiences.
Yeah.
And it's just
hey guys, thanks so much for watching.
That's right. Just as a reminder, you can become a premium subscriber today. Watch the full show completely uncut. Our reactions to each other's monologues. You get to listen to it. You get to ask us questions. All that good stuff. Link is right there in the description or at breakingpoints.com.
Best of all, great way to say screw you to the mainstream media.